Hello. We'll try this again. Let's give you. Where you at? Oh no. You're. That's dark down there. There she is. What's the lens there? That's somebody that likes to bite my feet and tickle the shit out of me. Shit, I'm sorry. I mean, it's stand on your tail. And just got the tip though, didn't it? Where you going? Where you going? Alright. Yeah, you gotta be sassy for a minute, okay. Did you find your treats? No, hey. Yeah, there you go. Baby over here. Hey baby. Let me try them. Damn it. Alright. Shit. Whoa. I don't like that. Anyways, vertigo apparently can start out of nowhere. Not pleasant. But what was arrested development? Yeah, I always thought the what do you call it? Lucille too. Yeah. The way you never really consider what people go through until you experience it yourself. Now I don't know if she's got vertigo for real or if she's just acting, but just I think even if you've experienced an injury, it may give you some idea, but it still doesn't. I don't know if there's a way to really compare what a person goes through and the way that injury happens to affect that person. Versus hell, I can't move my toes on my right foot. not anymore. Oh, there are some people don't know what that's like. Not that I can't run. It's just not a wise idea, because you never really understand how much, like, losing the feeling in your feet affect how you walk until you lost the feeling in that foot. Because I drag my foot a lot of times, because I just out of, sometimes it's just the easiest way not to fucking twist my fucking ankle. They can go down anyway. So yeah, trying to run, liable to break your fucking toes, or break your fucking ankle or something. Now, I'll never run as fast as I used to be able to, but I can still somewhat do it. But I won't fucking regret it later, for the moment I fucking finish, but Jesus, man. We've tried these fucking things in. Not from a corporation or anything like that, but more on the spiritual level, where God said, yeah man, I got you, here's your backup. Try to take care of that one. Oh. The ultra rich in cannibalism. We get into it. This is disability Tony Walter. Hold up. Let me okay. Well, I figured, I didn't know if it was a typo or is it Walter Knott? I'm gonna assume the H is silent. Yeah. Of the Disability Resolution Law Firm. Goes over statements and testimonies from Social Security disability recipients who are disabled that were abused or part of the ritual abuse, including cannibalism.
Very good, very good. All right, let's do this real quick. Excellent. So, here's what you need to know. Basically, there is a situation where, by and through the Epstein documents, people are now looking through the millions of pages that were released in photos and videos, things like that, where essentially the discussion of cannibalism has popped up. And one of the things that happens when you are a disability attorney working with a lot of disabled individuals, those with PTSD who might have been trafficked, those who have really bad anxiety, depression, panic attacks, etc., is that you tend to come across individuals that come from similar programs over and over. programs that are through the FBI or other similarly situated federal existences that help to go ahead and find and then release back into society individuals who were in fact trafficked. And so when you work with all of those individuals, you get to learn things about how the underworld actually works. And you have to understand that, if you wanted to go ahead and buy something related to the, situation of cannibalism, it falls into two categories. You're either going to buy an experience in person, or you're going to buy it from the dark web and have it delivered to a location. Now, before I go into this video, and I want to take a moment to explain this because I think it is very important, I think it's extremely important. One thing you have to keep in mind when I talk to you about this is that I cannot use names, I can't talk about particular programs, I can't talk about things that are happening that are changing related to the subject of it, but I can tell you stories that I've been told that don't include specifics.
You know why? Why can't he mention any of these things? And when the hell, because when the hell did government, I know the answer to this, but when the hell did government become responsible for everybody's money? That's the general mindset of the average person. You mention government, they think that for some reason a privately owned entity that serves the interest of a few men is somehow responsible to take care of them. Okay. Yeah, and they do to an extent with the illusion, but it is the bare minimum. I believe most people that are receive some kind of disability, I don't believe they don't make enough to survive. A lot of them have to hustle one way or another to really get by a month to month, and it's just a fact of the situation. As far as the other end, we have a lot of examples we can go through.
Number one, they pay ever larger prices.
In fact, we'll come back to this here, because we're over here, but I did want to flash this real quick. It was just a conversation we were having with the AI. No, that's not. Is it? No, that's not it. Back up. Who's that to be with? This was a response I got from AI, and so I just simply copied its answer to a question I put in there about Lewis McFadden and the investigation into the Federal Reserve and the allegations of Lewis McFadden, treason, conspiracy, fraud, and lawful conversion. Issue a currency based on false, worthless, fictitious acceptances, create over $1 billion in debt to specific financial interests. Failure to redeem a currency of gold is required by law at the time. Transfer Federal Reserve debts and losses to the United States government and citizens. And one of the things, the fictitious acceptances argument was largely debunked by the Federal Reserve officials. You mean the people who are under investigation for treason, conspiracy, and fraud and unlawful conversion have like debunked themselves and independent investigators at the time, independent investigators at the time. It makes no mention of who or what investigators. It was just like, get the fuck out of here. Conspiracy theories. Is McFadden's rhetoric on the line with conspiracy theories about international banking, which were popular among certain isolationists and populist groups of the era, but not supported by evidence in congressional hearings. No. Why this source? Why not pull up the actual congressional record? Like, you not have access to the fucking congressional records? And this cocksucker will say no. But if you ask it something stupid that is no importance, it most definitely go there, like, and quote you law word for word. This is what the law is. Here is the record. But any actual exposure to what the real fucking truth of the matter is, like, oh yeah, the mainstream press, we love this too, because these haven't been bought for Jesus Christ since the turn of the fucking century. No, they owned by the very same fucking banks that have stock ownership, and that's how it's. See, they try to paint this picture that the Federal Reserve isn't private. That, okay, the stock ownership is actually held by stocks by other banks, but who owns the banks? You see where we're getting. Who owns the stocks of those banks? And we're talking about the capital stock, not an electronic version of it. Those are two different fucking things. The capital stock is real ownership, and it's on paper. It's always going to be on paper. It's like, it's going to be, these are bonds, and yeah, stock certificates like these, like they're gonna appear. Shit, that magnet is fucking got a grip there. But they're gonna appear. Look something like this. And then, I mean, hell, that looks like money. That's $10,000 on this one here. In fact, I got some reprints of some of the old money that I made that in there to scale in the actual size of the money, because these things have shrunk. It's funny like how the money is shrinking. I got small little titles. There's a silver certificate. It's a series 1935 E. Ed, if you notice, this actually has a stamp from the Treasury. Yeah, that's a city of the. Is this the Treasury Department on this, or I think this is the Treasury Department because it's blue. It certainly looks like it. Yeah. Mericeptin sigil of the treasury. Yeah, it's got the key. That's the treasury there. You got the key. Is that the scale? The shield. This is 1957 here. This one. That's Series B. Bravo. But I wish I would have thought to put those other ones aside, but I'll go through my stuff and I'll find them and pull them out. But we just a few quotes from my own words and what I put here, and we get down to the bottom, and wow, the AI is essentially, you know, what's this? Because that almost looks like what is that? That's a prompt. Okay, that's AI. Okay. I was about to say I don't remember writing that, but okay. Thought I could just click. No, wait, that's a different conversation. Okay, I know what's going on here. Thought I could. Because I thought this breaks the conversation down into sections. Is what I was thinking here. Alright. Wait. That, I don't know if that's a... This... I know this was a public document. Oh. I mean, I guess they could be. I mean, because it used to be a comprehensive annual financial report. But this is comprehensive financial annual, not analysts, but okay, because they're required to do it every year. See, now it's got annual comprehensive financial report here. Is the AI intentionally just stupid? It's like, what the fuck? You can't look up what a fucking kaffir is? But it gets a little wonky, and it kind of bores the shit out of me because it doesn't do any deep search, it doesn't scan, it doesn't read, it doesn't do anything without you fucking directly directing it to, and it still doesn't want to fucking stand up to the task. Now it'll go all day on telling you how fucking wrong you are. Like that, it will pull sources and just fucking chit chat and jabber and just bombard you with sources. But the moment you start getting into anything fucking real, this fucker gets big and almost kind of goes quiet. And a lot of times it will. I'll get a fucking prompt like the conversation's ended. subscribe to continue, but I'll turn around and ask something stupid, and it continues. Like, well, make up your fucking mind. Is the conversation done, or is this the limit of the conversation?
And that's really the purpose of this video, is to give you my reflection on how people are at with this whole cannibalism situation. Okay, so first and foremost, does cannibalism happen in the United States? Absolutely. No doubt about it, absolutely. Does it happen to particular groups of people more repetitively and continuously? Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Based on what he's saying, it's why I'm talking about the money. Because if we didn't allow cocksuckers to print money, you think they could really fund the system? I mean, especially if we return everything that was taken due to unlawful conversion. The committee, Louis McFadden, had started on the investigation. Hold up, we have the investigation, consecration of print from 1913. This is at the this is shortly after the foundation of the Federal Reserve, because this was February 28, 1913. The Federal Reserve Act that was published in past December 24th of this year of 1913. But, yeah. We talked about clearinghouses and all this, but this come right from either Library of Congress, hell, it's a government printing office, GPO, right here. This is, I didn't make this up. Like, this is not something I created. This is something that's in the congressional records. Anybody can go look this up. Just like they can look up the investigation that was conducted by Louis McFadden. They found the Federal Reserve, those acting in power at the time, guilty of treason. Treason, damn it! And yet, something more important come up. We could not be bothered to investigate accusations of fucking treason. And here we sit today, the Epstein's files. Clear, fuck it. It's clear. Like, the way they present it, the way they release it, the way they talk about it, it is an intentional slap in the fucking face. And what they're saying is, what are you gonna do? You can't do shit about it. That's what they're telling people. You can't do anything about it. Maybe they're fucking right, huh? But people are so willing to just roll over and accept it, the world for what it is. Versus, uh-oh. may never get the cooperation to establish a government that is the size of the one we have today. Nor would I even, I don't even know if that would be a good idea. More on that later. Actually, more on that later. I'm jumping ahead of myself here.
My mind, absolutely.
This.
Does it happen as often as you might think? Probably more often. Probably more often. Or is the cannibalism purely for the ecstasy and great feeling of the super rich to enjoy during parties? No. It is used as a punishment form as well. But let's go through this real quick. I want to go through some of the documents. Okay. Hindustan Times came out with this document. Gabriela Rico Jimenez. Epstein files spark interest in Mexican woman's cannibalism claim video who disappeared her. So the main thing is that there was a model who participated, or at least she claims to, although it seems like she claimed to, and it seems like she was part of a specialty party.
Like
I'm going to read to you the article details and then give you my my reasoning behind what I think is going on. Gabriela Rico Jimenez, a Mexican woman who wildly accused the global elite of engaging in cannibalism, is back in the spotlight again. This comes after the Justice Department released a fresh batch of files relating to late convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were released by the Department of Justice, and renewed interest in Mexican model occurred, and this is because basically they have video of her talking about, or at least photos talking about, these things that were going on, and then she magically disappeared, which, obviously when you're dealing with the super wealthy happens. One of the documents spoke about a party on a yacht where allegations were made about people eating things from intestines. The document also leveled allegations against George Bush I. However, the disturbing nature of the contents have led many to think back to Jimenez's hysterical video, where she leveled the accusations. Quote, in the video, Gabriela Rico Jimenez, a 21-year-old Mexican model, is seen outside the Fiesta Inn in Monterrey, Mexico on August 3rd, 2009. Gabriela had attended a private party at the hotel, an elite modeling event that brought together prominent businessmen, politicians, and individuals whose names appeared in the Jeffrey Epstein files, all figures favored by secularists. The young woman began screaming that they were eating children. She was then arrested and disappeared without a trace. Yesterday, the evidence supporting her claims was released in a new batch of files from the U.S. Department of Justice proving that Bush did this, and worse. One person sharing the video wrote. Although, keep in mind, the documents weren't as definitive as people are making it out to be. Another added, quote, what the 21-year-old Gabriela Rico Jimenez claimed historically is now collaborated by the Epstein files. Quote, claiming she disappeared that night forever, who disappeared her. Which is true, we don't really know where she went. Yet another said, quote, in 2019, 21-year-old Gabriela Rico Jimenez made statements alleging extreme abuse connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Newly released Epstein-related documents show that some elements she referenced were already known to investigators, though they stopped short of substantiating her most extreme claims. Okay, so one thing I want to point out, there goes my little jar of, I have little F's, you've seen them in a jar, that way I can be like, I'm only giving you one of them. So the bottom line is this. Okay, so what usually happens? Usually somewhere in the Midwest of the United States, it can be anywhere though, family that's kind of off the beaten path, and it was easier back in the day because now, everybody's known everywhere. But it's a family, usually with some young kids, will essentially be terminated, and the children will be taken, and it will become some little mystery of some little town, or especially if the family lives in an unincorporated area where it's like the sheriffs get involved on a county level. And so basically the parents will disappear, the children will disappear, nobody will know where they went, they just get up and leave. They don't actually leave, they were just, the parents were taken care of and eliminated, and the children were then put into trafficking. And so what happens usually is the children will then be trafficked through many different places, many different states, many different vans, all that stuff. And ultimately what happens is, in order to control the children, they use a lot of tricks to mentally manipulate them to do the things they want them to do. And the idea, just so you guys are aware, is that, people purchase, the time to interact with them in any way, fashion, form that they want to. Now, as those children get older, what they tend to do is that some of them are used to go ahead and create essentially pregnant children. And those pregnant, or they get pregnant. And so when they get pregnant, they're used and requested by wealthy individuals for that specific type of pleasure or situation. And so those pregnant individuals ultimately sometimes have the child, right? And when the child is had, one of the ways that I've been told that they go ahead and control those individuals is that ultimately the child is taken from them if they do something that they don't like, right? And then what happens to the child is that the child is then obviously, terminated, and then basically pieces of that child end up in the food of the trafficked model that is basically used to go ahead and pleasure other individuals, and they would feed the child back to that model as a way to punish the person. And so it is happening. That's part of the punishment realm of what will happen with that cannibalism. It's like a forced cannibalism. So then on the other side of the coin, you have these decadent parties. And these decadent parties are where individuals will go ahead and try out different foods. Some of the foods, of course, are humans. And so as a result of this, what's happening is people are now learning that, just like a meat you would buy at the grocery store, on this menu, they have things that you can purchase that come from humans. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that it's not always a situation people just envision in their head that they're doing this to these people at these parties. Yes, they do end people's lives at these parties. They do go ahead and take pieces and then cook them at these parties. But usually, from what I've been told, what happens is that prior to that, they'll purchase a bunch from the dark web, or they'll purchase a bunch from their provider, and then have it prepped ahead of time, and then it goes onto the yacht or the special location, and then they go ahead and do what they're going to do. Obviously, an island, a yacht, these are preferential places for these very rich people. Here's another article real quick from Snopes. Fact check division. Epstein files mention cannibalism and ritualistic sacrifice. Quote, that's not the full story. Some accusations stem from an FBI interview with an unidentified man. There was no credible evidence to support them.
Cool. Since you got that out of the way, ask me how this motherfucking lady has the fucking time to investigate every goddamn claim there is out there. Every goddamn fucking claim. Who made her the fucking authority? Are you so goddamn fucking retarded? You're gonna hand over your fucking intelligence to fucking Snopes?
What's interesting about this is that when it comes to child predatory conduct, I'm not sure why, but it seems like certain states, and a particular political party, seems to keep lessening for doing abuse to these individuals, the penalties in the criminal law landscape. And I'm not really sure why that is, but it is not okay. It's not okay. Quote, the U.S. Department of Justice's documents released in January 2026 pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein reference cannibalism and accuse Epstein or his inner circle of engaging in ritualistic sacrifice. Now, just to be fair, I'll say it very quickly, some people think certain groups are specifically doing this stuff, whether it's the Illuminati or the Masons or whatever. I am a Mason, and so I'm like the worst one.
You're not part of the fucking club, are you?
The worst one ever. I pay my dues, but I never really interact. It's been probably 5, 6, 7 years since I've been to lodge. But the point is, as probably there's a lot that also don't go to lodge. But the point is, it was never part of the Masonic stuff that I ever saw or I ever did. But I am not a high level person, and I don't think the group is part of that or based on that. But to be fair, there are special separate bodies that are a group within a group.
Yeah, and who owns the honorary fucking titles? Who owns? No kings or queens, or nobody would hold fucking honorary titles as being the protector and sovereign, supreme, fucker, fucktard, parasite of the most pristine and these motherfuckers and their fucking titles, I tell you, bunch of pompous ass motherfucking.
Within a group where I have heard rumors about weird stuff. Not this particular weird stuff, but some weird stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm at the level where, like, you go to the meetings and you're forced to cook for everybody, and you sit in these boring, like, they're like city council meetings where you're just like, the next topic we're going to go over is that crap. I mean, it's just, I hate it. You know what I mean? Because they're just, you know, it's like, you know, and now we will read the minutes. And I'm just like, man, you know what I mean? Because, like, that's your Thursday night. You know what I mean? That's your Thursday night. Some people love that stuff. Some people super love it. Snopes verified that the DOJ's trove of documents released on January 2026 contains such allegations and things like, okay, so let me just skip some of this stuff. In February 2026, after the U.S. Department of Justice released more than 3 million files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, a claim circulated online that the files referenced cannibalism and accused Epstein of his inner social circle of engaging in ritualistic sacrifice. Posts on Facebook, archived, Instagram, archived, Threads, archived, and Blue Sky archived spread the allegations. Snopes readers contacted us and searched our website for more information using phrases such as evidence of cannibalism in the Epstein files. Alright, so here's the thing from Jan Ryder. Grabe, Epstein, and the people around him weren't involved only in sexual exploitation. The allegations point to something far more disturbing, extending to extreme acts like cannibalism and ritualized violence. From a criminal psychology perspective, this pattern tracks behavior driven by pleasure tend to lose their impact over time, pushing individuals to escalate into increasingly extreme acts just to reach the same level of stimulation. Okay, and then there's another one here, and you know these are blocked out. I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victims. While on this yacht, he witnessed African American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his vests were cut by a scimitar. A scimitar is like a curved blade, but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. He was also raped by George Bush I. That was that one guy in particular. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the creator of the True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record as a result of an FBI investigation. Let me know if you want to, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's some more details. All right, so bottom line is, Epstein files contain allegations and references to these sorts of things. What do you need to know about it? So basically this, document EFT A00147661, again, EFT A00147661, from an FBI tip line report dated around 2019. An anonymous mail caller claimed to be a victim of Epstein. He alleged that in 2000, on Epstein's yacht, he was sexually assaulted by Epstein and others, including mentions of former U.S. presidents being present. He goes through as a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice. He goes through the things that occurred to him while he was on it, and then how he got out of it, and how he didn't have any scars after being cut while on this yacht. The allegations involved all kinds of things, consuming human flesh, etc. The FBI agent noted that the claims were unsubstantiated with no corroborating evidence, and one concluded, quote, at this time it is not recommended that any additional investigative resources be expended concerning basically the claim. Okay, so remember too, you know, the FBI does not want to have a prior president having any links to any of that. You know, the House, the Senate, none of them want to have the House of Cards known as the United States completely thrown down as a result of these horrible, crazy things occurring to what we look up to as supposedly our greatest leaders. But as you can tell, this Epstein situation does prove an entire child trafficking ring along with other individuals and trafficking, etc. So it is one of those things where, just to be fair, it's all coming out. And yes, agencies and different political leaders have protected different individuals. Yes, the stuff about Bill Gates is coming out, so on and so forth. It's all coming out. Okay. Quote, the tip was referred by a former FBI agent and the operator of a far-right conspiracy website, True Pundit. No other Epstein document contains verified evidence or formal charges related to cannibalism, dismemberment, or ritualistic acts. Broader online claims linking the files to elite cannibalism often reference unrelated events, such as a 2009 video of the Mexican model, which we already talked about. All right, so just to be clear, when it comes to this situation, I've had a good handful of clients who have come from this world, and you can imagine it's you get things such as, for example, PTSD being the main thing, and then being abused over and over and over and over again, and then the tricky thing is they're working their entire life, they don't pay any taxes, and then basically now something you don't know is that a lot of them will exist under somebody else's social security number. Because remember, we have proof that employees at the SSA, the ones that were caught anyways by the Office of Inspector General, were selling social security numbers of people that basically existed or potentially died, and they could grab them and use them. They didn't link them and say that they had passed away. So the bottom line is the SSA probably needs a good looking over when it comes to historically how these social security numbers linked to these individuals. But the bottom line is Social Security Administration will give them a new social, new name, new setup as part of the FBI directive. And then at that point, what will happen is that individual will become a new person. They'll have to go out, earn their quarters of coverage, do their whole thing, and start a new life. And if they can't really work, that's when I get them, I work with them, represent them, etc., to get them to essentially have a better life, have a future. But as you can imagine, a lot of them are so mentally abused that they're not able to get back from reality at that point. All right, so let's talk about this. I think the news and media are focusing on the pleasure aspect of the very, very rich doing these functional tasks. I don't know to what degree a lot of you have with experience with the dark web. The federal government's been really good at catching and basically stopping a lot of the sales and the trafficking and the actual delivery of certain things. Because just so you know, the dark web used to be a lot more wild. I mean, there's still stuff all over the place. There's still a lot of things sold from North Korea, etc. But if you wanted a particular element that you weren't really supposed to have, you could get it. If you wanted a particular weapon, you could get it. If you wanted a human, you could get one. If you wanted parts of a human, you could get one. You could get stuff. If you wanted a machine that would make something, something that is for a lab that they didn't necessarily want you to make, you could get one from the dark web. So just to be clear, this brings me to another video and a point that I did. Do you guys remember when I did that video explaining how a lot of people who use street drugs, narcotics, etc., and I was explaining how that narcotic was used, and a lot of people are like, that's insane, you don't know what you're talking about, I've never seen that, I've never heard that. And what I concluded, what I learned from that video, was that 99% of the drug users that are out there are poor. Makes sense, right? Because we've got to spend it to buy it, but they're poor. They are poor drug users. And so poor drug users can't buy lots of different drugs and experiment. They don't have special rooms in their mansions that are completely locked off, that have special chairs and tubs and all kinds of stuff for drug use. So to be clear, people got really upset in that video when I explained how the drugs were being used in different ways. And they were like, that's not how it works, that's not what it da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I realized that's because 99% of drug users buy the drug, use it as most people do, and that's it. They're just poor. They're poor drug users, So they can't buy a bunch of it and experiment with it in different ways and, yada yada. So the playbook of a drug user, who's the average drug user, versus a rich person, a celebrity that uses and abuses, they're very different. Poor drug users don't get access to private clubs, private casino games, private, Texas Hold'em, private, this or that or whatever. They don't get access to that stuff. So in learning that and realizing that, I realized that most people who think about a party think about drinking alcohol, maybe doing a little of this, a little of that, or whatever. But it's all done in the traditional fashion. Mm-hmm. The reality is that throughout history, there have been different groups that do forms of cannibalism, right? There have been different societies, little groups of people living on islands and stuff that do forms of cannibalism. And so knowing this and knowing that there is a history with this type of situation, you have to understand that while it seems insane and out there and completely wrong, and it is all those things, it is also not something that's completely uncommon to the wealthy class. if the wealthy class wants to, do a particular drug every single day, it's not even going to put a dent in their, in their spending account. It's not even going to put a dent in it. So you have to understand, like, there's another world of people that exist that do things that you will never experience, you will never see, you'll never be part of unless you win the lottery and get very stupid. And so with that said, again, back to the pleasure aspect of this, to a lot of these wealthy, from how it's been explained to me, there are delicacies of all forms, and humans are just part of it. So it's not as crazy an idea to those types of individuals. The other side of the coin, just to be clear, if you go to other countries, if you go to China or some areas of the Southeast China Sea, stuff like that, they eat a lot of things that we won't eat. So this culture of it being completely off limits, there are places where they eat horses, there are places where they eat dogs, there are places where they do all these different things. So you have to understand that while it is to an American absolutely horrific and disgusting, we eat cows. Some places cows are sacred. So it's just different for different groups. Just kind of understanding that. Do we want cannibalism to happen among humans? No. Is it going to happen whether we like it or not? Obviously. And that brings me to kind of my final point with this video. And I think this is a really important point to just kind of realize and understand, because I'm trying to put this all in perspective for you guys, because I know that a lot of you haven't had the horrific experience I have of representing so many people that have been abused, that you get to see how shitty the human race actually is. But one of the things that I want to say to you is that when it comes to this type of actual tendency or actual conduct, this has been going on for a really long time. And you'll notice that certain super ultra wealthy families, and that's the weirdest thing too. You know what the weirdest thing is? They make videos about ultra wealthy families that marry their cousins and stuff like that. Kentucky stuff, and just things that we don't accept as a society, right? So they make these videos where they showcase all this stuff, but they don't do that the negative. So women will watch these videos about Victorian times and they'll be like, oh, I love that dress, oh, he's such a gentleman, oh wow, I wish I was in that situation. But they leave out all of the crazy out there stuff that women in America would be vastly ashamed of, immensely disgusting.
What about
and to me it was always an interesting thing, because it's like, there you go, there's like, they're doing a party in a palace and a this and a that, but they don't go into what's actually going on in the party. Remember, a lot of the things that Diddy would do, right, P. Diddy, to the wealthy, this was not completely out of the realm of reality. This was, this was a situation where it was like, okay, well, I mean, as a comparative, they do other stuff. So one of the things you have to understand with this is that you don't come from the culture where this stuff is done. You don't come from the culture where this stuff is acceptable. So, and the rich know this. And
yeah, they know this. They know you live in your little bubble, your little box. You're comfortable in your little box, in your little bubble. And you can't pull your head out of the ass and understand what the fuck is going on in the world. And so in the meantime, they sit on the stage and tell everybody in the world that cares to kind of chime in what they plan to do. In the meantime, y'all just argue with idiots. Well, somebody this, somebody fucking step up, and that somebody look in the mirror, because this is a fucking group effort, or not at all. You take my man Gumshoe Sleuth. Who else we got? Richard from Grand Theft, Richard Grove from Grand Theft World. Those two right off the top of my head. I believe even Brandon Joe Williams. I don't know if he has a driver's license or not. But these are a few individuals that have taken their power back, said no. I'm not gonna have a driver's license. allowed to travel. It says it on the very fucking top of it, and this is the confusing thing for me. Other than, all right, it is a CDL. Everybody has a CDL for but if you want to increase the weight you're allowed to haul, well, you gotta go to school and get that endorsement. It's all it is like another endorsement. It's a lot like aviation, where they get endorsements. There is no real actual license like pilot's license. You get certificates and endorsements, but as far as actually having a pilot's license, well, no, they do have a. I guess you could call it a license. It does have photo, but I mean, it's got the endorsements on there, but because I'm just actually really thinking about it doesn't say license on there. I don't believe it does. Let's see here. Hold up. I mean, where's the oh, he's got an actual well, here, that. Wait, where'd it go? That's it there, right here. That's a bit what you get here. This one right here. Medical certificate. We have the passport, and yeah, this here just student pilot certificate number. That's what that is.
And the rich are.
I said, it don't have to be today. Just if somebody, no, you say, if.
Losing their ability.
I said, and I do mean only if somebody goes to Dollar General, you know, would you let me know so I can get some chocolate? I said, it don't have to be a social trip. No one has to come run and get me. Just if, okay?
Yeah.
If.
Once you've been able to get to your shower.
And he was able to get out. And all I do is shampoo, condition, and soap, you know?
Yeah.
But hurting and just trying to, you know what I mean? God. Everything just kept feeling slimy and sticky, like especially like all up in here and under here. Ugh. I don't like that.
Yeah. Fuck.
To be anonymous. Now, a lot of that is because the rich are reaching out and trying to, like, you know, curve society so that they can make a product and sell a product, right? You know, so if you create an emergency and you own the solution, you can sell the solution. That's what a lot of these rich are doing. You know, the Bill Gates types, you know, they're going to create the vaccine, they're going to create the cure, they're going to create the bugs, they're going to create the this, they're going to create the that. And then they're going to sell it, right? That's why he's buying all those farms, all those ranches. He's buying up a lot of America's farmland. So the point that I'm getting at to kind of like help people understand this a little bit more, to put it into a framework in their brain, is that it's horrible, it's disgusting, it's terrible, but it is also a cultural choice. And the rich are their own culture. And I don't know how to sell you on why that is the way it is or how it could get that different, but the rich live in a different culture. Let me give you an example. If they throw a party, okay, you and I don't get invited. We just don't get invited. There are, all throughout America, special parties.
Elon Musk gets
people that have
invited.
different cultures, right? Swingers or individuals that like, furries, or people that do that kind of stuff. And you don't get invited to those parties because that's just not part of the cultural existence that you want to have as a part of your life. I don't go to those parties either. I don't get invited to them. But the point is, they exist. That's why I'm trying to say to you, when people are like, this is occurring, your brain shouldn't be like, there's no way. Your brain should be like, okay, well, that's a different culture.
Yeah,
And
it
that
should be a
this is likely
culture.
happening as a result of this different culture. And I know some of you are like, it's horrible, it's disgusting, and I get it, and it is. But if you just look at, okay, let me give you another example. You take the most crime-ridden area, and you look at the people there, and you look at their culture. Doesn't matter what their skin color is, doesn't matter how tall they are, it doesn't matter, what foods they like, whatever. You look at their culture, right? About how they commit crime on each other, they'll run up to some kid, they'll steal their shoes, take their shirts, stuff like that. Their culture. And then you look at the ultra wealthy, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, stuff like that. You go look at that culture, okay? There's a perfect example where murder, right, in that high crime area is an accepted part of daily activity culture. It's not good, it's very bad, you're probably gonna go to jail, probably, but it is an accepted part of that daily culture. Now you go to Martha's Vineyard, you go to Nantucket, things like that. Over there, they throw lavish parties. You can only get there mostly by plane or boat.
See, because we roll there, it happens. But the community overall does get upset whenever the shoot versus where it was the Hamptons, wherever you refer to, where they're all invited in doing this together. Nobody's outraged about what's going on. So you got some wires crossed.
But the boats are mostly turned away in many
Trying to
instances. So the point I'm getting at is,
justify.
you have to have a purpose to be there. That's why these rich are buying these islands, because you have to be able to get there, and most can't get there. And you'll notice that most of these islands never get investigated, with the police showing up and the feds showing up to investigate them for this kinds of stuff. Because you guessed it, this kinds of stuff.
Fuck is the Space Constitution? Huh.
Part of a very, very fragile
Hold
ecosystem
up.
of super wealthy keeping things quiet. So I just want you to understand
See things
why
out here
this is
about
going on.
Space
It's because
Constitution.
they have a different culture. They're trying to get the next high. If a lot of you guys don't know drugs, and some of you do because of the medication for disability purposes, but a lot of you don't know like illegal drugs. And every time you use it, you're farther away from that high you once got. And so as a result of that, you're in this repetitive thing of using more until you can't afford it. And that's what happens to poor people. And that's why people using like things like crack cocaine or heroin, they buy what they can for the week, they use it, it took more time for it to be delivered than for them to use it and feel the experience that they were going to get from it. And so as a result of that whole situation, they are poor users, right? But then there's another culture where you would go to a mansion, you go into, go up the staircase 3 flights, and there's a room, and the room has all these special machines that basically do different things, and special chemical cocktails that can create certain things. And so I'm doing this video because I want people to understand, because number one, cannibalism in America is kind of like aliens in America, right? People are going to be like, there's no such thing as aliens. And now the government has officially released that they not only have a program that collects alien ships,
Claims with zero fucking evidence. Claims again with zero fucking evidence. Claims with zero fucking evidence. And at this point, I will not accept video or photographs as fucking evidence. No. I want to see a goddamn either a body or a living fucking being in person, not a hologram. Sorry, I am not willing to accept the fucking idea of space fucking aliens. No, not this crazy ass world. No, especially when these fuckers been talking about pushing the idea of selling space aliens for fucking, jeez, you can go back and look how long it is. It's been a long time, long fucking time, more than 100 years that they've been kind of tossing this idea around. So if they happen to be some kind of inner extra dimensional fucking being, I want to duel. Oh, fucking, I'm ready to fight. Fuck y'all. Y'all deceptive motherfuckers.
They have biologics of aliens, and they're studying them, and it's called the Legacy Program, and yada yada. So they've now admitted to it. But until that moment, a lot of people were like, "There's no way. There's no way." Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with these parties. These ultra wealthy people.
No, not the same
they
thing.
do what
Human
they wanna
beings
do.
know to fucking exist.
And let me give you a final example.
We have an entire history of dealing with motherfucking people. You don't have motherfuckers around here. They're fucking any kind of blue fucking elf looking motherfucker, no gray motherfucker. Nobody like that is walking around casually in fucking society. They had been friendly, they would have been. That's what it'd be. It'd be fucking normal. But to all of a sudden, oh, we just discovered you, and you're gonna go straight to what? I guess you're going. Like, where would you go? Being an outsider, like someone that just approached this planet for the first time. You gonna just pop in and say hello? You're gonna investigate? You gonna fucking do a little recon before you get in there? Like, how's this society ran? Is this a, what's the state of the world there? In what instance that you, an intelligent fucking being, look at this world and say, let's interact with these fucking fools. Let's just give them technology. In what world does that make any fucking sense? So you just look down and like you just fall for the same thing everybody else does. Well, these are the governments, so this must be who runs things. So we're gonna talk to the presidents, and since this one's the loudest, and he does the most boasting about blowing fucking people to fucking smithereens. This must be the leader. Take me to your leader. Oh, forget it. You could, you would think there would be, with some means, you could research the history. You would do a very fucking, you would know the history of the fucking things you're dealing with before you just start handing them shit. You can see, like, food, like, oh, here's trinkets and food. If we were going to trade that would be the first step in trading, you would think. Like, something you're not going to blow somebody up with, or turn around and use against the beings that give it to you. Or even, like, different animals or something. Like, this animal here, it's really useful on our planet. Maybe we could swap you one of these for they find something that they would, one of ours, like the sheep. We could use the wool for whatever, you know. If they were that fucking advanced, who would say we had anything that they would want? Like, y'all just don't have anything to offer us, so what the hell we're going to trade with you for? What would they get in return for doing that? You know, work out a deal to bodies. I mean, you're technologically more advanced than the civilization you approach. Do you really need to make an agreement? It's like you do what you're going to do anyway. Agreement. And what laws are going to govern that fucking agreement? What, you like going to submit to the United States, the jurisdiction of the commercial courts of the United States, or we're going to go to the Galactic Federation, which is a stupid fucking idea. Like, people, what form of government do we have today? It's a federal government. It's a federation. It must be the best goddamn form of government out there. There is nothing else other than federations, federal fucking governments. The Confederation. Oh, that's evil fucking idea. Fuck the fact that anybody had like fucking morals or principles, but the very idea and concepts of I don't know, right to fucking travel, or there's no reason or excuse to establish a central government. We don't want a federal government. Federal is a centralized system. That's what it is. That's what we don't need it. If the aliens are operating under a federal centralized fucking, fuck them. If that's enlightenment, I'll pass. I just don't get it.
Okay, an island. Okay, if somebody's a middle class person, they're not going to be able to get to that island. The press isn't going to be able to get to that island unless somebody's paying for the ticket or the boat ride, and the boat ride fuel is expensive. Or somebody has, let's say, 5,000 acres, right? And you've got a spot right in the middle of 5,000 acres where you've got a mansion. Do you think the police are going to make it all the way to that house? Do you think the sheriffs are going to drive all the way down that road? No, they're going to drive miles just to get to the house on private property, right? So my point to you with this whole situation is, I just hopefully get you to understand, there are a lot of things that the rich do that you will never be able to experience, and there are a lot of things that the rich do that will not make any sense to you at all. This is some of that. The problem is, I only get the ones for representation that somehow escaped being in that position. Okay, most of them do not escape. They end up in a vat, they end up in a hole, they end up being eaten. It is what it is. And some of you are like, that's horrible, that's horrifying, oh my goodness. But you did know this was already occurring to some degree. Like, I think most of you understood that there were things that you couldn't get access to that were horrible, and then also nice things. There are also nice things you can't get access to. Being able to fly a private jet to different locations. So my point to you is basically this. I hope culturally you just open yourself up to understand that there are things that happen in America that are very different from what you are used to. That's all I'm saying here. That's my whole thing here. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying there are things in America that you are never going to get access to. This is one of them. And I know a lot of you are going to say, thank God, I never wanted to have access to that anyway. So that's good. That's good. But these horrifying things do happen. It's very terrible. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, you will see through history the agencies of the United States protecting certain individuals. And the reason why is that sometimes settlements occur. Sometimes people disappear.
All are equal under the law.
The federal government
That's why.
does things that are legal and illegal under the federal code. And they've been caught and they've been investigated. And that's kind of like the ultimate investigators are supposed to be the Senate and the House, right? At the end of the day, and then, they basically do a congressional review.
Ordinance of
But I think, to be fair with this, I think realistically at the end of the day, it's important to remember that we all exist because we haven't been targeted by something very, very massive that wants to get rid of us. And if it did, how would it get rid of us? And then what would happen to our bodies? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And I'm going to say one final thought, and it's a very scary one, and I hope you just think about this.
Up to the 12th here.
One of the largest exporters, very likely, of human remains, human parts in the future is probably going to be Iran, for obvious reasons. And as a result of that, you can imagine that they have a significant amount of freezers that are going to go ahead and be used for that purpose. So just kind of keep in mind that this is a situation where it's a commodity, it's sold, and rich people buy it. How many of you have had in the past 10 years caviar, lobster, king crab? How many of you have had access to these things that are even more accessible, but still not very accessible? So my point is, just to understand, it's
the Confederation.
so yeah, the person just put Iran, obvious reasons. Yeah. So if you're not aware, and I know this isn't getting posted on like CNN, MSNBC at this point, but a little bit, but not enough. So Iran is going through a culture cleansing, a Holocaust, where they are ending the lives of an entire generation of people who no longer want to follow the traditional Muslim methodology, where these people are seeking freedom. Like in America, we have a lot of basically white females voting for more Muslim law, clothing, etc. But in Iran, you have a lot of the women in the Gen Z and millennial age group trying to get away from that. They're trying to have more freedom like America. It's interesting. It's a very interesting thing. But hold on, let me look it up real quick. Let me see what it is real quick. Hold on. How many people been so let's see what it says. It's probably too general of a sentence real quick. And some of you don't even know this. So I know that they were at 36,500 as it was reported. Then there was another thing that came out that said it might be up to 85,000. But basically, mass killings in Iran of people who were protesting for freedom that did not want to partake in Sharia law. And obviously, women in these places are treated as second-class citizens. They have all these restrictions. They are beaten. They are abused. As a result, America, we don't really do that as much with our women. Obviously, we have more equality and more freedoms and rights for them. But to be fair, with this situation, just so that you're fully aware of it, if you don't know about Iran, you should go check it out. It is one of the most horrific things that have recently occurred. In fact, there are satellite images now that people can basically see from space of areas of blood that have completely soaked into the sandy areas and building areas where mass killings occurred. So you can pretty much tell from space where mass shootings occurred. It's that
joining
bad.
in the measures.
So for those of you who are super supportive of Sharia law, that would be something maybe to get an education on related to Iran's recent activities. You will also notice that President Trump has put some very large warships surrounding Iran, and now Iran is trying to negotiate how it's going to live a different style of culture where it doesn't mass kill off generations of human beings because they wanted freedom as opposed to Sharia law. So something to consider. Alrighty, everybody, I will catch you all a little bit later. I wanted to go ahead and do this video so you had a better understanding as to how it worked. Please have a wonderful, wonderful night. I will catch you later tonight with additional videos. Please take care of yourself. Please be nice to each other, and we will rock and roll from there. Attorney Walter Knott, thank you so much, and we'll catch you later. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Before the Assembly of the United States, in pursuance of of the present Confederation shall be deemed and considered as a charge against the United States for payment and satisfaction whereof the said United States and the public faith are hereby solidarily pledged. SOL. I think it's hard to make out the individual letters of this. That was Article 8. Well, no, that's 12. Isn't that interesting? I know I have a transcript of this. It makes it easier to read, but still like having a copy of the originals. Look around to see if I've got some frames for these things. Figure out where the angle is next. Another hour and 20, almost hour and a half going on right now. I thought I'd record this, share this little bit here, and continue with trying to sort some of this damn paperwork out. The pumpkin spice. I actually like that. Come here, baby. Hi there. You want to say hello? Speak. 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 Good girl.